spend most of your time in the library, so it's get to meet everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, an important part of the dissertation is getting the supervisor. So I think the second week of term, what you have to do is submit is it an extended proposal or just a proposal?
Proposal, yeah.
So that's only about, I think it's a page of what your ideas are, what the sources that you've looked at or may look at, and your secondary sources. And that's just, don't be scared by that. It's just a general idea to show you've done some research, and it will just help the people allocating you a tutor. And what most likely happens for most people is that you get a tutor who has some specialised interest in your area and then can direct you to deeper research, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Although that's not always the case, and it's totally fine if you get someone who you think is not necessarily an expert in your field, because what we're all experts in is knowing what a good project looks like and how you develop that. And so that's really what the supervisor is for. And sometimes actually I've found that when I haven't supervised, or rather when I've supervised a project outside of my field, I've done sometimes a better job at supervising that because I have that distance from it. So it's not the be all and end all to have the
No, it all comes down to the technique and skills that the tutors have already developed, and they're telling you how to pursue those areas. So my tutors just say go and look at the archives, but really how to categorise them and look at them properly as a researcher would.
Mm-hmm.
So they're giving you more skills and more in-depth analysis of how to approach the dissertation.
Exactly. And of course you could always go to someone else in the department to talk about your project. If you think that there's someone who could really help you with some of the subject knowledge who's not your supervisor, you can go to them too and talk to them. So that's fine also.
Yeah. I say your dissertation supervisor becomes really useful in second term. Actually, we're doing it again, is you have to do presentations of where you, at different stages of where you are in your dissertation. I think those are really useful for the tutors really seeing what you've done, where you're going to go. And I think what you all really need to do is for the final dissertation presentation, which I think is beginning of March, is you need, ideally, if you can, have a clear layout plan of what you're going to argue, because that's when your tutors are really useful and they say, actually, I don't think the argument you're doing here is actually going to work, or actually I don't think we should structure it like this. And that's where you're getting the really useful information. If you prepare enough in first and second term, you can really utilise them right at the end when you start writing.
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, I'd argue that you should take both presentations really seriously, because they're really important points where your tutor can intervene, and also when your peers, so each member of staff has, I don't know, between 4 and 10 people to supervise, and the presentations happen as a group, your peers can intervene too and give you advice on your project. If you don't take it seriously, then you're not going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, no, I found the presentations really useful because in December I did my presentation, didn't think it was actually that good, and actually discussed it and actually decided to change my dissertation topic because it wasn't too late to change it at that point. And I think we pointed out the peers are really good as well. It's really useful, obviously when it's coming to writing you're quite stressed, it's really useful to have 3 or 4 other people that you know your topic and are in the same boat as you, and they can really say, actually, I thought you said you would argue this sounded better, and they can really help in terms of looking at your work and working as a unit, I guess, and getting the dissertation done.
Definitely. Well, sometimes I think feels weird because a history degree can be quite solitary.
Yeah.
But when you have the opportunity to work as a group, then you should make the most of it.
Yeah, I say third year is really when students as themselves in history do come together more as a collegiate group and work together.
Mm-hmm.